everybody. This is Eric Virathaler of Virathaler Studios here once again for the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name is Coy Rubalcaba, and I'm an actor out of Dallas, Fort Worth.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Oh yeah, of course.
So, I guess my first question, what inspired you to pursue acting and just what sparked your interest in film?
You know, I think this was like one of the most common questions that like everybody has asked me, and like my story has like never changed throughout the years. So when I was in third grade, I saw the movie Scarface, and people were like, "Oh, you saw that in third grade? Wow, that's crazy." Unfortunately, I didn't really have like any really like big parental guidance on what I watched. But the very first time I watched Scarface, I was like, "Man, I would love to do that." And not necessarily like the killing and and the drugs and
Well,
anything like
yeah, yeah.
that. But it was just like the idea of being a part of something like film. When I saw Al Pacino for the first time, it's like, man, like who is this, and how can I do what he does? And that's pretty much how my idea of wanting to be an actor started.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people I have talked to usually will tell me like it was the original Star Wars that
Oh,
inspired them
really?
to get into acting. And but yeah, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but that's the first time I've ever heard anybody tell me that it was Scarface. So
Right. Yeah,
yeah, I
I
mean,
love the big movies.
yeah, I mean, especially for somebody in the third grade, as you said.
Right.
But yeah, well, and I mean, when I was in the third grade, I definitely was never allowed to watch that movie.
Mm.
But yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I feel like a lot of people in the third grade probably weren't.
Right. Or no, of course. And then, usually it was just like, as long as, you're not doing what they're doing, I could usually get away with watching anything that was like rated R at a young age. So,
Yeah, which I say that that's fair, as long as you make your kid understand that, it's all fiction and that there are consequences if you do stuff like that in real life. It also depends on the kid too.
of course.
So yeah, and it just varies on the circumstances, but I mean ultimately it's not our choice, it is the parents' choice. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the 1980s Scarface actually is a remake of a film from the 1930s.
Yes, I did realize that. I found it out like later on in life though, when I started pursuing like film acting, and I was like, wow, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. I thought it was always just that's where it began. So
Yeah, which I can't help but feeling that most people in the general public, I feel like now that the 1980s version is just so renowned that I kind of feel like a lot of people have forgotten about the original, which is ironic because usually it's the other way
hmm.
around. So
Right, and I know I like read something that they're trying to remake Scarface, but all these remakes that are happening is just I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they should just let it rest where it is.
yeah, I heard the same thing. Like I heard that they want Leonardo DiCaprio as Tony Montana.
Yeah, I've heard many stories on what they plan on doing, but we'll see. We'll see how everything starts progressing in the film industry. Lately, it's been kind of crazy with all these stories happening.
That it has like from what I was told that a lot of people now are moving out of Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, say if it works for some people to be in LA, well then that's fine. But I guess for people panicking on the financial aspect, like, oh no, how am I gonna get in the film industry if I can't financially support myself in LA? Well, you are in luck because nowadays people are moving out of LA, and so
Mm-hmm.
you don't. So nowadays you don't have to be there
Right.
anymore.
Of course, especially with everything being remote, especially like auditions being in
Yep.
remotely filmed and everything. It's a little bit easier than traveling, and spending lots of
It is,
money to
yeah.
get, one place to another.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, every majority of the roles that I've gotten have actually never been in person. It's always been online. So
Oh, nice. I've done a few of those. I've done a few online, and lately it's been a lot of self projects that's been happening, especially here in Texas. It's only been a lot of commercial auditions that's been happening on my end. So
so it sounds like that there hasn't really been a whole lot of feature films or short films available.
there are a lot of great talented people that are putting together short films, but it's also, like I said, self projected. A lot of these people are doing it themselves, and but like big films that are happening. I know there's only been a few handfuls of like productions that have been happening here on like the larger production scale. Like of course you have like your Yellowstone. Was it Yellowstone? And it was something else. There was another like Western that they were doing here in Fort Worth. I forgot what the name of it was. I'll have to look
Yeah,
into that more.
yep. And it's funny that you mentioned Yellowstone because that actually was filmed originally in Montana, where I'm from. But
Oh
then, from
wow.
what I was told, because of tax reasons, they changed it from Montana to Texas. So I just find that
Hmm.
pretty ironic.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just little stuff like that that's been happening, but nothing like it would be either like in Louisiana or Atlanta, or even California. But I know that they're trying to build something, I believe, here in Midlothian. Like they're building some type of big production set area here,
Nice.
is what I'm hearing. I haven't really witnessed it myself, but amongst the actors here, that's what I've been hearing. Rumors, at least.
Well, I guess until things are more concrete, I guess it'll just remain that until then, right?
Right. Well, I mean, everything's pretty much not set in stone, but it is set in stone, but then it's not, so
Exactly.
it's a lot of talk.
So yeah, it's a little hard to navigate that if it's just, oh, he said, she said, and then
Mm,
oh, that he said, then she said, just the back and forth.
right.
So yeah, so out of curiosity, did you ever actually watch the original Scarface from the 1930s?
I have not. Have not got a chance to sit down and actually watch that. So unfortunately, no, I
Yeah, well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I haven't either. So,
haven't.
but yeah, it's not that I have anything against it. It's just life.
Oh yeah, of course. That's totally understandable.
So yeah, and so funny that I mentioned Star Wars not too long ago because you actually were in a Star Wars fan film, and so yeah, and so talk about your experience.
So I mean, I grew up also watching Star Wars as well. It wasn't just like the guns and the violence and stuff like that. I mean, I was the black sheep of my family. So Harry Potter or Star Wars, like even some of the cult classics of like the Evil Dead. I don't know if you watch Evil Dead, but the old
Yes,
like
I have. Yes.
right, right. So stuff like that is what I enjoyed too. But the Star Wars fan film that we made was man, what was it, like 2 years ago now, I believe. I think that's when it first started filming. And the funny thing is I believe they dropped somebody, or somebody dropped from the cast. And I, some of the crew members and some of the actors have already been film or been rehearsing and getting to know each other. So I came in like 2 weeks before the filming was supposed to start. So everything came to like, hey, we need you to do this. Here's the script. Good luck. And so it was really fun being on set with the actors. I loved everybody I acted with. They were great. They're amazing people. They all came from different backgrounds, of course,
All right, of course.
and it was fun getting to play a Jedi Knight. And I've always wanted to do something with Star Wars. I never thought it would be something like this, a medieval um, themed Star Wars. So that was something different. And a lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
are starting. A lot of people are starting to do like different things and different, with different storylines. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, wow, okay, that's actually not a bad twist on Star Wars. I mean, you always see futuristic stuff like that. So it was fun getting to be that Jedi Knight in a medieval setting. And yeah, I mean, the filming was great. Sometimes we filmed in like the blistering heat of the summer, but hey, we got through it. And but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and it opened up connections that with new people. I love meeting new people and new actors and their talents, and you never know who you're going to meet. And yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And and I can testify to that because about a few years ago, I originally was going to pursue paleontology, but
Mm.
then I met a friend of mine, and this friend of mine, she later on revealed to me that she worked on the Jurassic World movies, and originally I thought that she was just pulling my leg, you know. But then she proved to me that she actually did. It's because that she showed me pictures of her on set, like
Right.
with Chris Pratt. I'm like, okay, you're not pulling my leg. And then, she was honest. She was like, Eric, I think your calling is filmmaking. And then she introduced me to Jim Carrey.
Oh, nice. You got to meet one of the legends. That's great.
Exactly, yeah. And and since that she worked on Jurassic World, clearly she knows people.
Hmm.
And I mean, heck, if she knows Jim Carrey, I mean, who else does she know?
Right, right, of course.
So yeah, and so I was very happy about that. I actually got Jim Carrey to sign that.
That's awesome.
Thank
That's
you very
beautiful.
much.
That's
It
beautiful.
is, yeah. And yeah, and so and then the rest is history.
Right. Hey, I mean that's pretty cool. You got to meet somebody that's always been like a really big star in my eyes. I love Jim
Oh,
Carrey.
definitely.
We all grew up watching him, and I don't really see him too much now. I know that he's trying to retire, but it's like, man, do you really want to retire right now? I mean, he should do his own thing. I feel like he should do his own thing. He's big enough to do that. I mean, but I don't know too much about what's happening, what goes on in behind the scenes in Hollywood. I don't know what he.
Exactly. And I mean, it seems like the only kind of movies that he does now are the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. But I'm like, hey, as long as he's still doing something.
Right. It's cool to see him still alive and kicking too, because I hate when like one of my like biggest actors that I used to grow up watching are passing away, and it hurts a little bit, So
Yeah. Like, ironically, on the topic of Star Wars, James Earl Jones.
oh yeah, R.I.P. I saw that a couple weeks ago, and I was heartbroken about that.
I
And
also was. And I mean, considering that, you know, Lion King, Star Wars, those were huge parts of my childhood. And then it's weird because I never met James Earl Jones, but it feels like in a way as if we kind of did.
right, yeah,
And
because
yeah,
we grew up, and yeah, like I said, we watch his art. We've connected with these actors on a more personal and intimate level with their film and their voiceovers and stuff.
exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, look, I get it. He was 93 years old, but it
Right,
still sucks.
right, it does.
And yeah, but from what I heard, Disney is just going to use artificial intelligence, like to use his voice, like for future Darth Vader projects.
Right,
I mean, I get it. Trying to find someone who sounds like James Earl Jones, good luck.
right, of course, yeah. He had a very distinct voice, and I loved his, especially in like the theater, because I have a theater background. That's where it all started for me, and knowing that he was a lover of theater, his heart was in the theater. I connect on that level too, because that's where I started, doing theater, Shakespeare, and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, not that there's anything wrong with theater, but I mean, ultimately, every actor has to start from somewhere.
hmm that's true.
So yeah, and so out of all of the stuff filmed for that Star Wars fan film that you did, what would you say was the most fun that you had?
Connecting with each actor, especially, I mean, because I had my moments where I was with, each actor alone on screen, but each actor brought a different energy that I got to work with, and working with those different types of energy, especially when it's like live and it's ready to go, it's just exciting. I enjoy just being on set, being behind the camera, and working with these different actors that bring these different types of energies, and the connections is what I enjoy the most. Connecting with your fellow actors and everybody getting along. You don't, sometimes you get on these sets that people hate each other, and it's like, oh well, it brings down the energy, but it seemed like everybody got along, and it's just connecting with your audience through these other interactions with people on screen.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like, I've heard of stories about when they were filming 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh,
Ironically, those two actors, like who played lovers, they
mhm.
despised each other in
Oh
real
wow,
life.
yeah, Yep.
You can only imagine just how difficult it was to film all 3 movies.
Right. Oh no, I feel that. It could be kind of awkward on set too, especially if you hate each other. So
Yeah, like to have all those intimate scenes where you just hate that person with a burning passion. I mean, that would require a lot of acting.
hey, that's why they get paid the big bucks. They have to act that way, even if they hate each other.
Exactly. And I can only imagine that as soon as the 3rd movie was done, those two probably said, "Oh man, I'm so glad that this is the last time I'm going to work with you."
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that happens all the time. And
Yeah, it probably does. And it's a shame that they didn't get along, but personality clashes happen.
right. And the other thing I guess I can say I really enjoyed was actually being in the suit of armors and being playing with like swords, and that just takes you back to being a kid again. Nothing beats being a kid and just having fun with it and doing what you love. And especially with being an adult now, like in my 30s, I don't feel like a 33-year-old man. I feel like I still have that heart of a kid. So when I get to play these types of roles, it's fun because it goes back into kid mode again. And now I'm having fun, and I'm imagining, I'm in an imagination land, and it's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's because, once we become adults, there's all these responsibilities. And I mean, of course, that is a part of growing up, but yet you also shouldn't forget to have fun in life too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people, they overlook that, especially with jobs, having kids, and it's good not to be serious all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And hey, if it makes you feel any better, before you told me that you're in your 30s, I thought maybe you were like 24, 25.
It's funny you say that because I like lately I've been growing out my beard and everything, and people think I'm older, but when I shave it, I look like a baby. So it's a
Yeah.
win-win, I guess.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like people would say the same thing if I shaved off my facial hair.
Oh yeah, baby faces, they go a long way, but it's good though that we have those looks that we can play with.
Yeah. And the double-edged sword is that, sometimes you'll get a role if you have facial hair, and sometimes you'll get a role if you don't have facial hair. So,
Oh yeah, of course.
yeah, like I got cast as Jesus a while ago in a movie simply because I have long hair and my beard. And I'm like, well, I guess I should grow out my facial hair more now.
Right. Yeah, I used to have long hair about a year ago, like right after like when COVID hit and everything like closed down. That's when I started growing out my hair, and my hair was fairly long. Now it's short. I cut it. I donated it, but that was the goal. I was like, well, I've always wanted to donate my hair, and I got a chance to do that this year finally because it took like 4 years to grow. And during the filming of Nightmare, like there's certain parts where it's like at one moment like my hair was like a certain length, and then later on it's like the next scene it's like it's like longer. It looks kind of I laugh at it because I don't know if anybody notices it, but I notice it, and I'm like, man, my hair just grew like 2 inches right there, so. But
Well, if it makes
yeah.
sorry, if it makes you feel any better, when I watched the movie, that was something that I honestly never even noticed. And now that
Okay.
you did say it, it makes me want to go back and rewatch it. So I can try to catch all that.
Right. And so when I did have my long hair, I did look like when you mentioned Jesus, everybody was like, look, it's Jesus Christ. And I'm just like, oh man, here we go, so.
Yeah, and I heard the same thing happened when they filmed the original Wizard of Oz. Like I heard that the actress who played Dorothy, what was her name?
For the original one? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's Judy Garland. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Judy Garland. Like I saw this video once on YouTube, and I'm so surprised that I never noticed this. And I've seen the movie so many times throughout my life, and I've never heard anybody else mention it. But there's this certain scene in the movie where like her hair actually like will change lengths,
Hmm.
and I'm like,
Interesting.
I never noticed that.
I didn't notice that either. I didn't know. I mean, I heard some stuff behind the set that happened that was like tragic. That's the only thing I've ever heard about anything behind the scenes, but I'd never, and I've seen The Wizard of Oz like so many times, I would have never guessed.
Yeah, like one thing that I heard is that from what I heard, that they forced Judy Garland to starve herself just so that she could
Mm-hmm.
fit into her costume. I don't
Yeah,
know how true that is.
there's a lot, I believe, a lot of just, I wouldn't really say like mishandling, but bad things have happened on that set behind closed doors.
That's what I heard too.
And like I said, then again, it's all a lot of hearsay, but I don't put it past them, especially back in the 60s and 70s and the 1940s. There's a lot of like, I guess, bad acting, or not bad acting, but like bad production stuff that was happening behind the set. That's like would not fly today, because of course you have your unions and stuff like that. So a lot of abuse was happening behind set, and I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, it was a different time too, but that's no excuse.
Oh yeah, certainly. Like when I interviewed Sarah Karloff and when I interviewed Lynn Lugosi, I mean, Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi like were one of the reasons why that the Screen Actors Guild even was created. It was because that they felt like that they weren't being treated right on set. And I mean,
Right.
Boris Karloff, when he filmed Frankenstein, he went through hell like making that movie because he had to carry Colin Clive up those stairs over and over again. Where then he had back problems for the rest of his life because of that. And then, Boris was like, you know what? Something needs to be done. Like, we're not getting paid right. We're not getting treated right. And, and the rest is history.
Right. And that's terrible. Like, that's terrible for, actors before us having to go through all that. Just, it shouldn't have been like that. And even nowadays, there's still some abuse that's happening behind the set that a lot of people just turn a blind eye to. And like, you see it happening right now in Hollywood. You've seen it happening years ago in Hollywood, the Me Too movement, this whole P. Diddy case. Like it's absurd and just disgusting that things like that are happening and people are just looking the other way. And yeah, that's my take on that, so.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, times will always change and there will be new issues that we'll have to address and adapt to. But, the nice thing about SAG is that while, yes, you have to pay your union dues and all that, but I think it's worth it because knowing that if something goes wrong on set, you would then have a union that you and then can report it to.
Right.
While if it's a non-union movie, I mean, yeah, address it to the director, but I mean, you don't always know if the director actually will. Now, it's not an attack against all independent film directors and whatnot, but it's just, it just really varies on that person.
Right.
So yeah, and so it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there are some people like who would rather do non-union movies, and if that's what they want to do, well, and then that's fine.
Right.
So yeah, and so, but yeah, one of the things I really loved about that Star Wars fan film is that how there was that medieval Darth Vader costume, and when I talked to Zach,
right.
I thought that they got that costume online or something, but no. But Zach was telling me that they actually handmade that.
I think Laura, she was one of the. I mean, there was a couple of people that were, I think, that built that suit. It was, I think, it was. I don't know if anybody was that helped build it before. I know some people did, but I mean, a lot of it was hand built, and it was amazing what they did with when they first got it to when they ended it. And something so little as like spray paint and wouldn't pick up as bad on screen than you think it would. So it was it was very awesome that they did that.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I mean, I give them huge props. It's because that when you see it, you do still know that it's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I can only imagine just how hard it was, like, to pull that off, trying to find that balance of like having it be medieval but yet still recognizable.
Right.
And yeah, and also what I'm really impressed by, that movie was made for like a budget of what, $5 to $7 grand?
I believe so. I wasn't any of the finance, but it was it was very low. It was very low budget, and
Yeah.
for what they did, especially with like the special effects, I mean, it came together very well.
Oh, definitely. Knowing it was done for that low of a budget, and honestly, I would have thought it was made for a lot more.
Right, right. And a lot of people, I think, the director knew a couple of people with like that would help out too. Like he was connected with some good special effects artists, and yeah, I mean, it was. I was surprised by the special effects after everything was set in stone, because seeing it from when they were starting with the special effects, and then you see your mess ups and here and there, but then once it all came together, it was fantastic.
Oh yeah, certainly so, and I give him mad props. So yeah, so even though I don't think you were involved with the special effects, but do you know if they use After Effects or Adobe Premiere or what?
I wasn't too sure what the editing tools were for it. I know they went with another gentleman. I don't know his name for special effects. So I don't know what software he was using for that.
Okay.
It very well could have been something that like After Effects made.
Probably.
So it was probably something on that effect, but yeah, I don't know if they use Premiere for the video editing. They could have too. I know.
Possible,
So,
yeah.
so
But yeah, I mean, kind of hard to really say. But yeah, something tells me After Effects. But hey, but if I'm wrong, well, then that's fine.
right. I mean, After Effects is a headache. I don't know if you've ever got to mess with After Effects.
I tried it a
Oh
year
yeah.
ago.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, even watching tutorials on it, I was still
mhm.
confused. And yeah, I feel like I would have to take a class on it just to fully comprehend it. But yeah, I mean, before then, I got used to iMovie and I like the much more
Mhm.
simplistic stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess me being naive, I'm like, oh well, I understand iMovie, so therefore I can understand After Effects. Boy, was I naive.
Right. I took a class on After Effects, and I did horrible. I think I got like for that. And because we would test on video editing, and After Effects was one of the softwares we had to mess around with, and I think I got like a low C on that grade. But it's interesting because we had to like pretty much do it from scratch, because I believe After Effects, they have their own little like shapes and everything that you can mess with. So we had to do something from just the presets that we had there, and I mean, it was horrible for me. I did horrible, but there were some people there that like did amazing. They're like, went like, I would look on other people's screen, and this guy's already having like a helicopter fly in with just basic shapes, and I'm like, just like shocked. I was like, how is this person this good at After Effects? And he's been working at for like an hour, and here I am working an hour, and I have like a stick figure, like barely walking, and he has a whole airplane coming in and landing, and it's amazing
Wow.
what people can do with After Effects. I've seen art and magic happen, and it's like astounding. I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, it's great though. Like, I see people that have the talent for it and the patience.
Oh yeah, certainly so. And I mean, I also feel like a lot of it might just be trial and error, which
Mm.
I mean that's fine too. But I feel like you have to have a lot of patience.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of patience.
Yeah, like from what I heard, I don't know how true this is. I mean, say what you want about the quality of the movie itself, but I even heard even the filmmakers who made Dragon Ball Evolution even use After Effects.
Oh, Dragon Ball Evolution. That was
Yeah, that's such a beloved film.
Oh man,
Nobody hates
yeah.
that movie.
Oh man, I remember that. That was interesting. I think I watched that when I was like, man, that came out so long ago. That came
Yeah,
out
back
very
in 2009, and
yeah.
that was when I was a freshman in high school. So,
Yeah, I think I was just yeah, just the special effects there were just not, it wasn't it. I'm sorry. It just was not.
yeah, unfortunately not. But
That's funny.
well, at least I got the job done.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. People got paid. I'm assuming they did at least.
Yeah, and I'm just really surprised by the fact that Dragon Ball is a big name franchise.
Mhm.
Hollywood's all about big name franchises. It's because it helps put food on their table and
Right.
reboots and whatnot. I'm really surprised that there hasn't been like a new Dragon Ball reboot.
Right. Like a live action, I feel
Yeah,
like. Yeah, I mean, the animation's doing very well too. Like
it
and
is.
a lot of the voice actors are definitely, I'm sure, have their hands full with all of that, so.
Yeah, probably, yeah. But yeah, so what I was saying for the longest time, if they were to cast a live action one, a a new one, I think that Hugh Jackman, like as
Hmm.
Goku, that would be the that would be perfect.
I could see Hugh Jackman playing Goku. I
Yeah,
definitely could.
then maybe as Vegeta. Granted, it'll be weird to see Jason Statham with hair because we've gone so used to him being bald. But Jason as that role,
Oh,
I can
man.
see it. Yeah.
Right. That'd be an interesting cast to play with. I think they would do wonders with it.
Yeah, and then maybe as Piccolo, maybe Vin Diesel.
Hmm. I didn't think about that. Yeah, he has the voice for it,
Yeah,
the deep
certainly.
voice.
And
Yeah,
yeah, and he certainly has that look.
yeah, he does.
But yeah, other than that, I don't really have any ideas. I'm just curious. Who would you cast?
Ooh, that is a good question for Goku. Hmm. I don't know. I really don't know who I would, because I think uh I think some of the people would have to be fans of Dragon Ball. I don't
Yeah,
know if like Hugh Jackman would be a fan of Dragon Ball or like Vin Diesel. But I bet you there's some talent out there that would love to play that. And I would mainly go for I know, not knocking on any of the American actors here, but I would go for
right.
like a more Japanese background of actors that I think would definitely could pull it off, especially with the fighting and the special effects and the people who actually love the anime for what it is. Maybe like, American and like, how they have their stuff. I think it's a lot different from what Japanese can do. So I would
Yeah,
give that to more of the Japanese crowd than I would anywhere in America.
and I would say that that is fair. And I mean, especially considering that Dragon Ball was from Japan
Mhm.
in the first place. So yeah, so that is fair.
Because like, I mean, not to, like, again, not to knock any of the American actors when it comes to the
Right, of
anime,
course.
but a lot of like the new stuff that's coming out right now that's live action, like One Piece, or even like when Death Note came out, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I did the anime. And I feel like when I see live action stuff like fanatic films for like Japan about like Dragon Ball or any like One Piece stuff, or I just I feel like it's a little bit better. And I love American actors, don't get me wrong, but I think it needs to stay with Japanese.
Certainly, of course. And I mean, that has been a common criticism, like of some Hollywood films based off of animes. Like there was that controversy with that one with Scarlett Johansson.
Hmm.
What was it called?
I know what you're talking about. It was,
What was it called? It was based off of an anime.
yep. Uh, what was that
Forget
anime
its
called?
name.
Um, I know it was I forgot what it was. Uh,
Yeah, crap. What was it called? It's gonna bother me now.
yeah, Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell.
I actually was about to check my phone and and then see what it was. But hey, but you beat me to it.
So yeah,
Yeah,
Ghost in the Shell. I didn't. I saw like a little bit of that, and I just wasn't feeling it. Scarlett Johansson, she does wonders here in America, but when it comes to like the Japanese style, I just I can't see live action films of like a remake of like One Piece, for instance. I mean, I'm sure the cast are all talented and they're great people. Um, there's just a different touch when it comes to animation, Japanese animation, than American dub trying to reboot it with live action.
yeah, certainly so. And yeah, people were complaining that like that it was whitewashing because
Mm,
character was meant to be a Japanese woman, and
right.
yeah, and so that's something that you have to walk on eggshells about.
Hmm. So I love the anime world. Like I did a little bit of I was taking classes with Chuck Huber for a little bit, and he's voiced the English versions of like I think it was Android 17, the boy, the guy.
Yeah, yeah,
He voices him. He's known for that. Also, if you ever seen Yu Yu Hakusho, it was Hiei. He voices the character Hiei, and he's done so much like other anime that. And Chuck is great. Chuck is amazing at what he does, and I love like some of the English actors here have like their talent is like, man, their ranges when it comes to this is just like like even the new Frieza that they have, like the guy who plays him, like if you ever like watched his like demo videos, his range is just amazing, and I'm just like, oh man, he's great. Like
that's amazing. And yeah, and I mean, it just shows like that the versatility that they have, knowing that they have that wide of a range. I mean, it kind of reminds me like of James McAvoy, and especially in his performance in that. What was that movie where he played the character with the multiple personalities? There's the one by M. Night. I always have a hard time saying his last name. M. Night Shyamalan. I think it was called Split, I think.
You know, I never got to see that movie, but I have wanted to watch that. But yes, Split. That was a big one because like the actor in that one was I saw like clips of it, and I was just amazed at what was happening there.
Yeah, like knowing that he pulled that off, like he made each of the personalities like completely different. And I'm like, wow, like that takes talent. And I really, really hope that he either won an award or I hope that he at least got nominated because
right. Like there's another one. There's another gentleman that I always enjoyed. Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy. I don't know if you ever seen the movie like Bronson. Like that was one of my favorite one of my favorite movies that I've watched Tom Hardy in. Just because I mean, his monologues are just amazing, and I've seen a few Tom Hardy films, and I believe like Bronson was a way different character than what I was used to seeing with him have. And I fell in love with Bronson. Like that was just a really. I want to say like a manly movie, but it was like, it's for the boys, So, so if you ever get a chance to watch Bronson, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I have heard of it, but I haven't seen it. But yeah, I mean, Tom Hardy, like he's been doing Venom recently, and
yeah. From what I heard, I think I can see Tom Hardy playing Goku. I think I can, he has kind of the build for it, or Vegeta, one of the two. I think he can play very well.
Now that you mention that, I never thought of that, but now you mention it, he has kind of an intimidating look to him. So maybe Vegeta?
Yeah, I think he can pull off a Vegeta.
Yeah, definitely Vegeta. Either him, or Jason, Jason's Statham too. But yeah, those two as Vegeta, but as Goku.
Yeah, Goku would be a hard one to play because it's, of course, it's the iconic character.
It is, yeah. Like I just really feel like that Hugh Jackman is the perfect choice. It's hard for me to think of anyone else.
I mean, I'm sure he would do a wonderful performance.
Probably, yeah.
I love his background in theater and musicals, and he's done every time I've seen him on film, or even like tap dancing. And I saw him I didn't know he was a tap dancer until I saw him tap dance, and I'm a really big fan of tap dancing. I love tap dance. I'm trained in tap dance, and when I see like these other stars do it, it's like, all right, that's the actor and performance in them.
Yeah, well, then I guess you could say that he sure tapped that.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Yeah, honestly, I honestly never even knew that Hugh Jackman even did tap dance.
He does really well at it.
That's news to me, but I guess that would explain his physicality.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I don't know if you got to watch the new Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes, I did.
Loved it
too. And it was so satisfying.
Yeah.
Spoilers for people who haven't seen it. When he finally put on that iconic mask.
Mhm.
And,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
oh, that was so satisfying, and especially when
Chills.
Deadpool said, "Yeah, it's not that you've all been waiting like 20 or so years to see this happen."
Right. Man, like some of these scenes, like I was just chills. I just wanted to I wanted to jump up like and just applaud, but like nobody else was doing it, so I was like, I was just like, come on. So
Yeah,
it was great.
I know how you feel. It's because that's how I felt when I saw Spider-Man: No Way Home in theaters.
Hmm.
Surprisingly, okay, spoilers for people who haven't seen it, but I mean it's been out for like what 3 years now, so it
Hmm.
shouldn't be a spoiler by now. But I'm assuming that you have seen it, right?
Unfortunately, I've only seen all the old school Spider-Mans. I have yet to watch any of the new ones.
Okay,
So I really want to, but go. You can go. It's my fault. I should have like watched it. So you can go ahead and spoil it if you need to.
okay, yeah. It's just that I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not going to ruin the experience
Oh no, you're fine.
for you. But anyway, so when it was revealed that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire came back, I got so excited
Hmm.
that I actually was cheering in the theater. But then I felt awkward because I was the only one cheering in the theater.
Hey, it's okay. I mean, you're a fan. I mean,
Exactly,
I
yeah. And I
wouldn't
mean,
care what they
especially
thought.
considering that Tobey Maguire, he like it was his Spider-Man like that actually introduced me to Spider-Man in the first place. So
Right. Tobey Maguire, that's who I grew up on.
same as well. And I mean,
Yeah.
just knowing that we finally got him back.
Oh yeah, I did hear that. Yep.
But yeah, and it also was great that we got Andrew back as well. And I
Hmm.
mean, Andrew's Spider-Man really did get redemption in No Way
Right.
Home. And yeah, and I mean, people often were arguing like that he actually was the one who stole the entire show.
Hmm.
And yeah, and but yeah, I was just so envious of my experience seeing it in theaters because I saw online like that there were other theaters across the world where once that reveal happened, like the whole theater went nuts. But mine was so monotone.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody's like in that mindset. There's people who are like that go and see like opening night, and they're all the fans that go. And so I'm guessing if you did, usually it's the crowd's hit or miss when it comes to that. Because I've been in both type of theaters where people are like cheering and they're like, yeah, which it makes the experience a little bit better because
It does. And yeah, and especially when you go see a horror movie and
mhm.
when people like are screaming when they're supposed to,
Yeah.
and yeah, that makes it so much more fun.
I think the last horror film that I saw was the new Evil Dead remakes. And like I said I'm not really a big fan of remakes, but the Evil Dead remakes that they've been doing have been pretty good. It's like it has that underlying comedy under it. And like but it does have its creepy moments of like, oh my God. And the last one I feel was like very well put together. And they had their like underlying jokes that they had, and of course like the chainsaw, and like I thought it was fairly well put together.
Yeah, like probably in Evil Dead Rise, the scene that made me cringe the most was the part with the cheese grater. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Then,
Horrible.
then in the 2013 one, when that girl like cut her tongue with that knife.
And was that the one where they go back to like they go to the cabin, right? Is that the
Yeah,
one? Yeah, and then like she finds the chainsaw in the shed. I believe that's where it was. I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I did watch that one too. Yeah, I remember that one.
But yeah, it's just that for me, anything that involves eyes or tongues, I just instantly shiver at. I mean, just knowing just how valuable those parts of your body are. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, every part of your body is valuable, but I mean, without your eyes, you can't see. Without your
Hmm.
tongue, you can't taste. So,
Right. No, I feel you on that.
so yeah, definitely, yeah. So, but yeah, it seems like there's always those moments in horror films like that make you just shiver the most.
Hmm.
Like in the Green Inferno. Did you ever see that movie?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
Well, if you care about spoilers,
I know. Go ahead.
there was this part where like this guy is tied down and then like these cannibalistic people and then start to rip out his eyes while he's alive.
Uh,
Oh, I'm like, oh gosh. And
that's horrible.
that would be even worse when you're still alive.
Right? Definitely
Like,
feeling every bit of it, you know. Ugh.
put him out of put him out of his misery first, but then of course like it would take away from the intensity.
Right. Oh yeah. Of course.
So yeah, so yeah, so what other acting experiences like do you have like with the movies you've done? Would you like to share?
I've done quite a bit. Like I've done a lot of commercials. I've done a little bit for Netflix. I was on Netflix for Queen of the South one year.
Nice.
But yeah, most of it was a lot of short films that I've done. My preference in like short films are a lot of like more dark comedy ish. That's what I like to be a part of. More of the um, like the darker side of things. I know. I mean, I know that's like a preference of mine. But I do like, of course, your heroic, like Star Wars. Like I'm very diverse when it comes to acting, but I do enjoy the darker aspects of things now. Right now, I'm actually working on a short myself. Sunday, I'll be filming it, and it has to do with sleep paralysis and schizophrenia. And I started working a little bit with AI with this, and I kind of want to. I've been experimenting with AI and putting together like scripts or certain ideas for this. So it's interesting so far with working with AI, especially if you're trying to write a script and just like, hey, goes together and put it in script form, and you kind of have to work with it a lot because it doesn't really there's still some kinks they have to like fix with that, but I was describing what I wanted and how I wanted it, and it's just really quick to see how AI just like, okay, you want this change, here's this, what do you think? And so yeah, we'll see. I'm experimenting with it. I don't know how it's going to be when we start throwing it up filming and all this other stuff, but AI is interesting to work
That,
with right now.
that it is, yeah. And so yeah, I certainly do wish you the best of luck on all that. And so, as far as funding, are you going to self fund it, or are you going to
So
take advantage of grants, or what?
Right now, it's just self funding since it's just like the beginning of it. I've been working with a buddy for the past like year now that we're trying to get something up and running. Once we do kind of get a footing and a grounding, definitely grants are going to be something that we're going to look towards more in the future. Right now, we're in the development stage. We're just starting out the production company, and yeah, I mean, we have the equipment, we have the lighting. I mean, it's just getting it out there now at this point.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and I mean, as far as grants go, I just wish that a lot more people would know about these film grants because I feel like that not enough people know about these film grants.
Right, right.
And yeah, and I mean, with my last film that I made, I just really wish that I would have known about film grants because
Mhm.
that would have saved me a major headache.
Oh yeah, and when it comes to funding, and especially trying to fund a project, it's so like it's a headache. It's a headache, and I've kind of been on both sides, and I've seen people like, oh, we're just this much short, and we have to work with this, and but it's money. Money right now is fairly like it's limited as to what's happening right now with the economy. So
It is, and from what I heard, when they made the original Terrifier, I heard that they primarily funded that because of like crowdfunding, but unfortunately they didn't reach the exact goal that they wanted,
mhm.
and so they were like, "Hey, just do with just make do with what we have." And then of course Terrifier, and then became what it became, and then with
Right,
Terrifier 2, since that Terrifier, and then became what it became, they didn't have as much issues getting the second film funded.
right. But isn't that like that? Like to me, that's like the beauty of art. I mean, we work with what we got. And I've seen people make magic with low budget, not very big cameras or lights, and like I've witnessed it. And even in theater, like, hey, we only have this time. Things change. As you're working on your feet, that's the beauty of creativity and being spontaneous and learning. Okay, well, we got to work with what we got, and uh, that's another thing I love why I love being an actor, because it makes you think on your toes. You have to move. You have to adjust.
Exactly. Yeah. I with the last play that I was in, something went wrong. Like she was supposed to do like a slingshot, but then the problem is she didn't do it right, and then it didn't fly across the stage. It actually landed like right in front of her when
Yeah.
she was supposed to hit a bird, and
Oh
the
wow.
audience noticed that, and they were laughing. But you know, we of course had to go along with it, and we had to act like as if she did hit it. And yeah, and I mean, things can go wrong, but you have to think on your feet about it.
I don't know if you. I mean, are you a fan of musicals?
Uh, yes, and I guess it really depends on what the musical is. I mean, I would say that Lion King like is my favorite movie of all time, and
Right.
obviously that is one.
Well, because when you brought up the fact of the slingshot and like it didn't work out the way it needed to. Well, I was in a production of West Side Story, and I was playing. I don't know if you know much about West Side Story, if you've watched it or seen it, anything like that.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, I played Bernardo. He was like the head of like the Puerto Rican gang there, the Jets versus the Sharks, and there's a scene in there where the head of the Jets and the head of the Sharks, they go at it with a knife. And during the scene, I remember like we do our little dance that we have to do, and when I flicked the knife out, or the fake knife, and the spring flung out, so I had no blade. So trying to do this scene when like in the literally the audience is right there. It was in the round, and it was a very intimate setting, but the audience is literally like I can touch you. And so they all saw this happen. So I'm pretending that, okay, my knife just broke and now I have to try to stab this guy. And so it happens. But we adjusted, and it was still great.
That it does, and I mean, there even is that example when they made The Dark Knight. It's that scene like where the Joker was walking away from the hospital, and then he's trying to blow up the hospital, and he pushed the button. Well, when he pushed the button, it didn't work when it was supposed to.
Yeah.
But Heath Ledger didn't break character, and then they actually kept that shot in the movie itself.
Yeah, and it worked, and it made it that much better.
That did, yeah. And then that classic saying, "The rest is history."
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, so you were
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real shame about the fact that he didn't get to live to see how he proved all those naysayers wrong. Because people are like, "Oh, what? You got the gay cowboy from Brokeback Mountain? What is it? Brokeback Joker?"
Okay. So the actors in Brokeback Mountain, I enjoyed the performance. Like the movie for what it was, scratch all of that. The performance is what we come to see, and they did amazing at what they did. They were big time actors that had to do what they needed to do, but I loved it for the art. I wasn't too worried about what was happening in the scenes, but their acting was amazing. They loved each other, and I saw that. That's all that mattered to me.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, heck, as long as they make a story that resonates with people, it may not resonate with everyone, but hey, and I mean, ultimately, they poured their heart and soul into it.
Right.
And yeah, so you were mentioning commercials you did. So, what exactly were these commercials for?
I mean, there are multiple. Like, of course, like you have your PSAs, you have your big national commercials. I've done PSAs for like healthcare. I've done like some commercials for State Farm. Last year I did like a big production for Ranch Water with what is the lady's name, for Miranda Lambert. I got to meet Miranda Lambert, and
nice.
Supposedly the commercial is supposed to be airing next month during Yellowstone. So I'm hoping, because it'd be great to see that. But they said they're supposed to be playing during that time, and if it does play on national TV, then hey, there's residuals right there for you, So
exactly.
So I've done quite a bit of stuff. I remember I did a COVID commercial when they were talking about trying to get everybody vaccinated. And I've done quite a bit for like Vision Works and um, airplanes. Like it's just I've done quite a bit for like airlines and like healthcare, and of course, and then the big one was Ranch Water last year, and some like other like side funding for like they were like trying experiments. Like I did another healthcare commercial for I played like a superhero, but they were like trying to go off like knockoff brands of like superheroes. So I played the Aquaman type character. So that was really fun. We had to film like I had to film underwater, and filming underwater is a lot harder than people think. Like so,
I imagine so.
yeah. So
Wow.
yeah,
And I mean, I can imagine like for the Aquaman thing, because of copyright, they just can't call him Aquaman and it just can't be the same costume. But it is still extremely clear that it's supposed to be him. It's it's kind of like in SpongeBob, like with Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. It's obviously supposed to be Batman and Robin, but they just can't call them Batman and Robin, and
right.
they can't wear those costumes.
Right. And I mean, you'll see that, like, if you look on my Instagram, you'll see where they had like a still picture of me, and like they have me like, I'm like, look, like it's cool how they had the still and what they did, but you'll see me in my little Aquaman little uniform, and my hair is just like really long. So if you ever get a chance, you can go take a look at that. And Scott Rice directed that. Scott Rice was an amazing director, and he works at UT, University of Texas in Austin, which he works with Matthew McConaughey. So that was pretty cool. And it was a fun day on set. It was huge. It was nice.
Yeah, and I mean, I can imagine that with you having that longer hair, and I mean, I can imagine that probably helped you to get that part.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah, and speaking of Matthew McConaughey, from what I understand, he actually is from Texas.
I think so. I believe he is from Texas. I know he's teaching now at the University of Texas. He does a lot of the film stuff there, or a lot of the film class, or some film classes and workshops there. Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, one of the most famous movies made in Texas is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Matthew wasn't in the original Chainsaw Massacre, but he was in Part 4.
I don't think I saw that one.
Well, it's one of the less liked ones.
Okay.
Yeah, like it doesn't have I mean, make of this what you will, but it doesn't have a great rating on IMDb. And, I mean, of course, people also have their own opinions, but it seems to me the consensus about Part 4 is that it's one of the lesser films of the franchise. It's like, look, I get it. Regardless, they still put in hard work into it, but it just seems like that it just seems like it's one of the ones that people talk about the least. And but that one was prominent considering that Matthew McConaughey was in it and Renee Zellweger, and that was huge because that was before that they got big.
Okay, I might have to take a look at that just to watch it. I mean, because I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm a fan. Of course, the old school classics and the like Jason and
Michael Myers.
Yeah, definitely. Freddy Krueger is one of my favorite ones. So yeah, I love watching all those.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, considering that those all start off as independent films, and and that goes to show. Just because it's an independent film, it doesn't mean that nobody will ever see it.
Right.
And yeah, and it's funny because I heard a story about when they made the original Halloween, Tony Moran, like who played Michael Myers in it, he was saying nobody will ever see this movie. But that's hilarious that he said that, considering that that's what he's most famous for.
Yeah. And look at it now. Look at it now. It's crazy. It's big,
Exactly, yeah, and and I even heard that Dazed and Confused was filmed in Texas, and and I know plenty of more movies and TV shows were filmed there. I just can't really remember exactly off the top of my head.
But I think a lot of things like we'll just use like the landscape for like a couple of episodes or something like that. I know like the Fear of the Walking Dead a few things were filmed here in what was it? Was it West Texas or was it? I know it was filmed here, and some of it was filmed here in Texas, which was like, oh
Wow,
wow, you know. So
that's awesome.
yeah, so like little like TV shows, a lot of TV shows like pick and choose of like the area around here, just because the land is so big, and sometimes you can do older stuff. Like I want to say like The Chosen was filmed here, a couple episodes of The Chosen. So yeah, a lot of TV shows do come here to kind of film the landscaped area parts of things. So
And probably one of the things that attracts filmmakers to Texas is that A, there's no sales tax, and B, I like the landscapes, and C, I like the tax incentives. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Atlanta, Georgia really has expanded within the film world is because of the tax incentives.
interesting.
And it's a lot cheaper in Texas than it is in California. And so if they want to find a place to stay at while they're filming, it'll be a lot cheaper.
Right, of course. So and that's another thing where everybody wants to move here to Texas, and then everything is starting to raise up here. So
So it's a double-edged sword. It's like great, we're attracting tourists, but then that's going to impact our wallet.
it always does. Always does.
Certainly, yeah. So is there any so a lot of times actors and just people wanting to pursue their dreams, they usually get discouraged. What would you say is your advice to people in a position like that?
I would just tell them, don't get discouraged. Follow your dream, go through with it. I was told many times by when I was growing up by my family, my parents, like you need to, you need to get a real job, this and that, and just go with what makes you happy. And especially in this life, there's too much sadness and there's too much pain not to go through with what you feel like doing. I mean, don't get discouraged. Go for it. Get your headshots. Start doing these projects, these simple projects that these student films are doing. Like get involved with your community. And a lot of people get discouraged because like, oh man, I got to do this. This is going to cost money. And you'll be surprised how many people are out there, especially when it comes to like your headshots, that they are willing to do it for a lower price because they're just getting started. So if you're just getting started, there's a lot of other people who are just getting started too. So just go for it. Go for it. Follow your dream.
Exactly. I mean, you only have one life, and every second counts, and eventually the all those seconds you have are going to run out. And
Yeah.
what matters is that before that time comes, what do you do with your life before then? And as far as the working a real job goes, well, you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well should go take a chance at doing what you love.
There you go. That's beautifully said.
Thank you so much. And yeah, so are there any more projects besides that one I talked about? Are Is there anything else coming up for you like that you would want to promote?
Just the short films that we're doing right now. We're doing like two of them, just for the Halloween, area. We're trying to get it up and running before Halloween. And who knows what's going to be next, because it's been a really interesting time working with AI, and where this is the beginning of it, and we're about to see where it goes at this point. So
That it is, yeah. And I mean, heck, even with the horror movie I was just in recently, they actually did use AI to make the poster. And I mean, knowing that I was the main character and knowing that I'm on the front of the poster, it looks just like me. And I'm like, that's impressive knowing that AI can do stuff like that now.
Oh yeah. Do you has it already been up, and like is it already after production, everything like that? Is it ready?
Yes. From what I was told, the movie's done. I believe it's going to premiere tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah. So not only are you going to promote your stuff, even though I didn't intend not to promote my stuff, but I guess I inadvertently did.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's any way I could watch that, I would love to. I would really love to watch that, and yeah, I'm sure it's going to be great. So if
Oh
you
yeah.
are able to share it, let me know, and then I'll definitely watch it.
Yes, I will. And also, maybe it's fate. I just got cast in yet another horror movie, and I'm like, hey,
Nice.
if I get typecast doing horror movies, then I will take that.
That's great. I'm glad that I'm glad it's busy. I'm glad it's very busy.
Thank you. Yeah, but yeah, and I will be sure to. But yeah, I'll be sure to leave a link in the description for your Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, and you also have IMDb, right?
I do. I do.
Okay, cool. So I can share that as well, and people can view your filmography.
Of
And yeah,
course.
and thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no problem. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, of course. You have a fantastic day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Of course.